Hello and welcome everyone to Hemp Your Health. I'm Christy Diehl, Director of Education at CETA System and your host. Today's a little different show and we're bringing on experts to explore all the opportunities within the hemp industry. I'm sure you've heard of some of the economic and growth potential in this industry, and we want to dig in to where those opportunities are. Currently, we are looking at an industry within the US that is at that is at 400 million. And within a year, by 2022, we are looking just within the US alone at a $1 billion industry. Worldwide, we are currently at a $3.9 billion industry with a growth projection worldwide of 6.3 billion. So where are these opportunities? This is where we're going to begin. This is a part one of a three-part series, and today's intention with these beautiful and incredible experts is to paint that landscape of where you should be thinking, collaborating, and planning. So we're going to start with each one individually as they introduce themselves, and then they're going to answer a question. After they've all finished their questions and answered their questions, then they're each going to take a moment and collaborate on each other's topics. So this conversation is going to go deep, and I want your questions because this show is for you. Let's start with Mr. Shane Mutter. Would you please do the honors of introducing yourself?
Sure. Yep. So my name is Shane Mutter. I'm president and CEO of CETA System in Longmont, Colorado. We are essentially a farm to table company that has been in production now for 3.5 years. And we have expanded into many parts of the United States and actually starting to do some business overseas as well. We are a product company. CETA System is the brand name, but we also have our hands in a lot of other categories such as white labeling and private labeling. We also work with our strategic partners to help folks or help businesses in getting raw materials and seeds through our other relationships. So we're a vertical company that has really gotten into the CBD business 110%. And looking to expand and looking to be a major player for a quality company that's producing high quality products that are meeting the demands of the consumers and looking to also expand into more education, which is at the heart of CETA System. So that's who I am in a nutshell, or what our business is about.
I love that. And I love that CETA System focuses on education because it's hard to make sense of this industry without understanding the details. So speaking of details, Shane, as the president of CETA System, you have to keep your eye on this industry from all different perspectives. Outside of farming, formulation, and retail, where do you see a lot of the job opportunities stemming from?
Well, there's a lot of pieces and parts that need to be put into place in this industry. I really feel as though we're still on the ground floor with a lot of things in terms of infrastructure that are just not there yet. And so there's a lot of growth potential and there's a lot of job opportunity. I see job opportunity in terms of companies that are third-party lab testing facilities like Botanicor. We see a lot of extraction coming to place in different parts of the country. Some of our partners are Gemini Extractors, formerly known as Zelios in Erie, Colorado, but they're expanding, but there's other states that need extraction in their states. So I see that's going to provide a lot of jobs for construction. I think there's going to be a lot of jobs in security, believe it or not, as more farms come online. I see a lot of potential for people that are actually botanists or growers, master growers. But first and foremost, for people that aren't really entrenched in the industry and have an in-depth knowledge of it, I think there's a lot of sales and marketing potential that's going to be the first that people see, the opportunities out there. I've seen in my past in the home furnishings industry where a lot of folks found themselves just this last year and a half without a job because of so many things due to the pandemic. And so people were looking to our industry to become sales and marketing folks for the cannabis industry. So you see a little bit of a rift and a lot of change and a lot of qualified professional sales and marketing people coming from other industries that are hurting right now and jumping into this because this is actually considered for the medical marijuana side and just for CBD in general, our products are products that are helping people. So these products need to stay out there. This isn't something that needs to be shut down. So there's potential there. I could go on and on. I have a long list, but I won't hold this up any longer.
Well, and you've mentioned things like IT and technical places where I wasn't even thinking in those realms because not everyone has to. I mean, we're going to get to farming because obviously we don't have an industry without farmers.
Right.
But you were sharing a lot of opportunities within the IT, and I love the idea of security and things like this. So for everyone listening, go ahead.
No, I was going to say just that you brought that up. I did fail to mention. I mean, just not that we want to, bring this to light right away, but from a legal perspective, we need people that are in the know, people that work with people like Hunter, that understand the legislative side. We need people that can help from a legal standpoint, state legislators to write the laws, to make sure that this industry goes about itself in the right direction and not be inhibited by too many convoluted laws that are really hurting people. I got a call yesterday from a retailer in Louisiana that said, I am struggling because there's so many convoluted laws that weren't written properly from the beginning. And unfortunately, those laws weren't, and it's true. But it's because legislators in Louisiana were kind of on the back end of this movement of hemp and cannabis. And so they don't really know what to look for. So it's introducing folks like that to people like Hunter Buffington. It's people like Alex Busher of the Busher Law Firm in Denver. His whole practice is around advocacy and helping folks like me with my business and from a legal side. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities, Christy.
I love this. Remember, part one, because every single topic that we're discussing could be its own show, and we could go really deep into everything Shane just touched on, and we will. So next is Angela Diehl. She is a part of our team. We are learning consistently from her because she brings a lot of expertise from the retail and legality side also. Angela, would you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely, Christy. Thank you. I am an independent distributor and sales rep for major brands. I choose brands that have a lot of integrity. I do my research. I owned a wellness and spa for 13 years. So for me, cannabis or CBD was the next step to help clients. I also found that it was an important revenue stream, and especially during the pandemic. So in July, I retired, sold my practice, and I do CBD distribution full time. What I love about it is I'm able to help retailers find ways to create the revenue stream and help their clients. So if you're out there and you're a retail customer and you think CBD isn't something you can put in your store to help, it absolutely is. We've put it in from bars to convenience stores. It makes your business become essential, especially during the pandemic. So that's a beautiful piece for especially Louisiana. Yes. And that's the state that I'm in. And so I try to stay relevant and active in legislation so that we can help our clients understand what the law is and put the correct products in their stores.
I love this because a lot of people are confused about what it is it legal, is it safe? So as a individual with a vast amount of experience and expertise within the beauty, spa, and retail
Mhm.
space, also knowing the legal landscape very well, how what for people and businesses looking to get into this space, where are the niche markets? I got three questions for you. Where
Okay.
where are
Niche
the
market.
niche markets? How do you address product saturation? And what do you
Mhm.
want to see more of?
Okay, so niche markets would be we've heard about the oversaturation. So I think the niche markets and the oversaturation go together. What we thought a year ago in this industry, I tell people be ready to get your surfboard and ride the waves because it is ever changing. Do not think it's a one lane avenue. So a year ago, we thought big pharma, this was going to be on every shelf in every major pharmacy. And what we have found is that customers do not want to purchase their CBD off of an aisle. They want to have a face to face with someone that they trust and know that that person can help them find the correct product. So, with that being said, it is your small mom and pop stores, and it could be just a vitamin wellness store, it could be a coffee shop because we can have shots for coffee. And what most customers don't know is that hemp is not cannabis; it is fish oil, and so that's the beauty of this. It's helping customers learn what the product really, really is. And so, with that said, we're looking for mom and pops, convenience stores. Customers want quick grab and go products. They're hurting, they're driving, they need something to rub on their back. They're not looking for an internal wellness, maybe, but there are pieces for every retailer that they can add revenue stream to their business and become very, very relevant. It is your mom and pop pharmacies. The list just goes on. I've recently added some for a bar. I thought that was the oddest place I had done, but the customers loved it. So never think that your business could not put that on the shelf because it absolutely can.
Oh my
So
God.
with that said, the oversaturation I think is coming full circle. I think what we're going to see in the next year, especially in our industry, is that people are going to come back to privately owned mom and pops face to face with companies that they can trust, they depend on, and people that can help educate them.
I love that. And personally, I couldn't agree more. When you go into a store and you have quadrillion choices and no one can speak intelligently to any of them versus going into a place where the products have been well vetted, the people
Mhm,
take them personally and promote them for
mhm.
personal and professional reasons, you're going to get a lot more understanding. And I think a lot of these people need
Absolutely.
consumers need their hands held because there's so much confusion
Mhm.
in this. And I'm so relieved that
Right.
you shared that
Mhm.
information on the mom and pops because I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of times the bigger they feel intimidated because that these products are in the bigger retail spaces.
They do. They're very confused. They do not understand the variances in them. They don't know how the product is extracted. They don't know why they need it in a particular extraction, and so they are just shooting in the dark for what they're looking for. And so, when you have customers who you've spent time with to help educate them, they can actually tell the customer, "This is why you need this product." And this is how it was derived, and this is why it's important that we take it in this measure. So wellness for me from the beginning was key. And so then you put that with the customer. And what we have seen during this pandemic is that customers who carried CBD products didn't fail. That carried them. Most of the stores that I worked with, it carried them through the pandemic.
And I want to add something. Angela's not going to say this, but I know the backstory. There was a bar, multiple bars, and the guy is in New Orleans, and he was shut down practically. And if it wasn't for CBD, he would not have had much revenue. And potentially could have shut down permanently. Angela went in, helped him out immediately. I heard this story. It's wonderful, and the business owner was much better off, and very appreciative to Angela for what she did. So Angela, to your credit, you helped a business. You helped a very small business, and that guy is still on the map because of you. And I believe that firmly. And people aren't going to say that. I like to say that because I like to give kudos to where it's most deserved.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's what I love about this industry is it's actually you're helping other businesses to become relevant and to become profitable. And so I don't go into a store and try to place every product line that a company has on a shelf because it might not be good for that customer. That customer may need pieces of your line and maybe pieces of another line. It's whatever it takes to make them profitable, because when they're successful, we're successful. So this is more about the customer than it is just about us as a whole.
Thank you for saying that, because I think sometimes sales, business development and sales reps get a bad rep, literally, in this industry as just pushing product, but conscientiousness equals a win-win. And selling hemp and CBD products should be a win-win, which is why we're doing this show for people who are concerned about, is it worth it? Should I get into it? So we're going to get back to more of this. And next, Hunter Buffington. So Hunter is my personal go-to for everything policy, politics, and industry metrics. She has a lot to share and a wealth of information. Hunter, thank you for being with us today. This is what, your third time with us on Hemp Your Health?
Yeah, and apparently I'm committed because this is now a series, and I've got one final show to do on our policy series. But I'm really excited to be here. Christy, thanks for having me. And I'm excited to hear from Shane and Angela. Definitely great information and a different perspective. I spend a lot of time on the ins and outs of the policy and what's the impact to our farmers, what's the impact to our processors, and how are we really, after 88 years of prohibition, going to overcome just a lack of data, lack of understanding? We have some work ahead of us. And I think one of the things that I'm really excited about on this show is that it is nothing but opportunity, right? And we need to get the right people into this industry to carry those opportunities forward. And I think that's what this panel is really doing a great job of, especially with the folks that are here. So a little bit more about how I come to find myself engaged with policy around hemp. I grew up in Wyoming chasing cows chasing one cow. Anybody that has pushed cows knows it's always one that's naughty, and really had an incredible love for data and began to study sustainable development around systems, agriculture systems, our environmental systems, fuel and resources from that perspective. And that's what actually brought me to hemp. It was never for me on, the consumption side. It was literally, how are we going to use this plant to save the world? And why aren't we doing this now? And so that very quickly took me to the front edge of policy, where there was all of these gaps in supply chain understanding, right? How do we get from there to here? And what I found was that there was this really intricate three-dimensional puzzle that I'll be working on for the rest of my life and into the future. So it was very interesting to start working in the hemp industry. So I'm the executive director for the Hemp Feed Coalition. We work with constituents across the United States and in Canada. So this is the North American hemp industry we're working on developing. And our goal is to gain federal legal approval for hemp and its byproducts as an animal feed ingredient. So a lot of that work is just really understanding, and if not, there's no better word, overcoming a lot of the regulatory barriers and hurdles that we have. And to Shane's point earlier, we developed a lot of those hurdles from the simple fact that The industry was aggressive. We have amazing entrepreneurs and fearless farmers that the second they were allowed to produce this plant and jump in, boy, they did with both feet. And the regulators basically watched all of this happen and were not prepared. They weren't prepared. So now we find ourselves in a position where we've got a lot more enthusiasm than we do knowledge, right? I think Angela would definitely agree with that, you know, and this is why I'm excited to hear from her perspective that folks are going to the mom and pop stores. And there were some battles with the pharmaceuticals at the very beginning of the birth of this industry. And I'm excited that we've held our ground. And that is a great point of what I want to talk about as far as what our future job development and economic development opportunities are. So I love that Shane talked about the botanical. Sorry, you guys, my husband works at the hospital, so he has a weird schedule, so you can see him packing up in the background. I'm trying to keep it as exciting as possible. So yes, so when I think about what the opportunities are in the hemp industry, there's a couple points that I want to make. The first one is that, and if I could find the person who started this rumor or this idea, I would really just love to kick them as hard as I could in the shin. But this concept that people were going to be millionaires growing a plant, this is farming, it is agriculture. And maybe there's a few folks out there that did get rich growing hemp, but I'm suspicious. I'm just going to say that out there. Entrepreneurship is just like farming. It's not for the meek, right? And it's not for the risk averse. No one it should be in this industry if they think they're here to make $1 million. If you want to make a sustainable income, yes. If you want to change the world, those are good reasons to be involved in this industry. And the potential really comes around a lot of what both Angela and Shane have said is that there's more enthusiasm than there is understanding. And that also directly applies to our supply chain. We've talked a lot about on this call about the hemp as a nutraceutical, right? Well, everything that we do to process those nutraceuticals results in a high quality byproduct, something that is considered waste. If it doesn't have fantastic nutritional qualities, then it's got fantastic potential to be used for building, for bioplastics. Come on, who doesn't love bioplastics? I mean, right?
Weren't like contaminating. Yes.
I have hemp shoes. I have hemp shoes.
All right, see, there we go. And the carbon sequestration, we talk about regenerative farming, just there's so many opportunities. And that's what I would like to share with our constituents. You're not going to be a millionaire, but you can change the world. And this is an opportunity to do those kinds of things. And the other thing I want to say is that there are new opportunities in rural areas that can help to replace some of the shifts in energy production that we're having. I'm just going to say it. Like at a certain point, we have to acknowledge that if we're going to have the world that we want to have for our kids, petroleum production has got to be replaced with a renewable. This plant can do that. And again, if this is what gets you excited about hemp, if you get excited about talking to people about hemp, you know, Angela's got great resources, but there are a lot of opportunities as long as you're realistic and you're willing to make that commitment. Again, it's not for the meek, and this is not a risk averse industry, but you can make a living and we can change the world.
This is really important. So for some of our listeners that are just learning about hemp, and they're not familiar with some of the positive environmental impacts it has on the air, on the soil, on everything, replacing some of the normal commodities like cotton and plastics. Where can you go into a little bit more of some of the environmental benefits of switching to?
Oh yeah. So the first thing is that idea that every part of the plant that goes through or comes out of processing does in fact have some sort of utility. By commoditizing those byproducts, by generating enough material for research and development to really get in there and unlock the potential of this plant. You know, Christy, when you and I first started, it was the 25,000 uses of plant for this plant. And now it's the 50,000 uses for this plant. And I want to throw down the gauntlet and say, we don't even know. Like maybe there's 50,000, But I would say that we don't know because we haven't had access to this material. Our researchers, our universities, our farmers have not had access to this material. And one of my favorite things about the hemp plant is that the stock material, oftentimes called hurd, is used to make hempcrete. And when you build with hempcrete, it takes 10 or more years to cure, right? So this is a concrete replacing product. So I don't want to go into the all of the carbon and the nasty things that happen when we make cement, but it's terrible. But on the positive side, the entire time that hempcrete is curing, it is literally pulling carbon from the atmosphere. There is no other product that I know of that in 10 years will leave the planet cleaner and build you a house. That's amazing.
Look, Hunter, look what I have for you.
What you got?
This is,
Yeah.
this is
Oh,
hemp
it's
cream.
so
This is hemp
pretty.
wood.
Nice.
Yes. And these, we're building a new house. And so I researched this, and a company in Kentucky does this. It's hemp.
Yep.
Is that the wood or is that
Yeah.
concrete?
Yes, hemp wood.
Oh my gosh. I want to have that guy on
Yeah.
so bad. So if
Yeah.
anyone has connections to the wood guy in Kentucky, the hemp wood guy,
I'll
please
send it to you. I'll send it to you. Yeah.
he's making
Yeah.
quite the splash. But this is
He's
just to your point, like hempcrete, wood, plastics, biofuel. This was considered waste material. And we were paying people to remove it and do what with it when we have endless, like you said, we don't even know all the resources that we could be profiting from, and job opportunities and environmental impact in a good way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And when Shane mentioned construction, it's your fault, Shane. You got me all excited about hempcrete when you mentioned construction. But if you think about where we need skilled workers in this country, the job market is crazy right now when it comes to real estate and new home construction. And what a lost opportunity. If we'd really, as an industry, been ready for that and had some more education in with our policymakers, we could be sequestering that carbon right now. Now, not to say that I'm not on it, and I'm pretty sure that this team's going to be excited to have this conversation, but we really do need the market to set the pace and the consumers to make these demands. To Angela's point, when a consumer says, I want to look somebody in the eye who made this product, who I can ask questions, that consumer demand has completely changed the outcome of the industry. And to Angela's point, I didn't think we were going to get there. I was really worried that we were going to have, bear CBD, no pressure bear or anything. But, my point is that it was going to come out of the hands of the farmers and out of the hands of the processors and the folks that really cared and were willing to take the risks to make this industry survive and thrive.
And go more
Yes.
corporate and big ag.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we're still on that cusp. Absolutely. Like, don't stop fighting, you guys. And especially with the concerns that we have over genetic stability, there are doors opening all the time where, the big corporations could walk right through those because they have resources that we don't. But this is where your dollars as consumers and the folks that are also looking for jobs in this industry are going to keep everyone growing hemp and being able to connect to those farmers and processors directly. Folks like Shane at Seed to System, like those are the relationships that we need to value. If we want that to be our industry, then we need to pay for that with our consumer dollars and make sure that they're the ones that are our industry and represent us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Supporting organic and local and vertically
And your
integrated.
farmer.
Yes.
Mhm.
You guys all want to touch upon genetics, each other's topics. And so a lot of people think of hemp and they think of CBD. And as this conversation is proving, that is just a teeny tiny part of this industry. We've got animals, we've got fabrics, we've got building materials, we've got fuels, we've got environmental cleanup. So anything, we'll start with Shane and go around again. Any comments, suggestions, insights on where, if farmers are listening, where should they be putting their attention if they want to grow outside of CBD and contribute to these industries? And just sort of like comments on everyone's conversation so far.
Yeah, no problem. And I know Hunter has the most experience with the farming aspect of it, but I will say that I know there's going to be a major shift into the industrial side of growing for the building materials, for the alternative materials used to make, whether it's clothes or fiber optics or furniture. I think is going to, you know, be in the horizon. It'll take a few pioneers to get into the furniture industry, but it's going to happen. I know it is. And even what we've seen in the mattress industry, there is a company in Belgium, and I'm a huge fan of theirs. The name is Devon. It's Devan, Devon Laboratories, and the CEO and his team have come up with all kinds of patents and ways to put CBD into fabrics, in micro encapsulating CBD into fabrics so that it actually gets into the skin transdermally. That's just one that I'm familiar with, coming from that industry. And so we see the industrial fibers coming. The company out of Kentucky is one of the ones that's made it on the map first. So whoever they are, I look to them to probably set the stage and hopefully bring others into the world and show them the ropes, because I believe we can do a lot of good for our farmers to start growing this crop for these fibers and for these materials, not just CBD. Where CBD started out, and I think in a good way, was bringing cannabis to light by having CBD become legal in all 50 states for the most part. That was the opening of this industry. Then it's going to lead to so many other things. And so it was a great situation for us and for the business to be able to get on the front line and work. And it's not easy by any means. I've been at this now for over 2 years, and it's a daily struggle. It's always something. We're facing state legislatures. We're facing banking. You know, the industry, just real quickly, and I know we can all talk for a long time, but banking has been another major hurdle for the smaller startups, the smaller companies. I consider Seed System to be still a very small company. And for us to go out and get financing is not normal. You don't just walk into a bank and say, hey, I'd like to take out a loan. Here's my inventory. Here's my assets. They're going to say, well, that's great and all, but I need you to prove to me that you have money in the bank and a personal guarantee. And if you need $1 million, well, we'll secure it, but we need you to have $1 million in cash in order to loan you that money. You say, well, I don't just have $1 million sitting around in my bank account. So there's different rules for banking. There's been so much chaos with the credit card business. So the industry needs help and focus there too. But what I'm saying is that these are pitfalls, these are opportunities, these are areas where our industry needs to improve. Hence, we'll bring more jobs, we'll bring more people, we'll bring more to the industry, the limelight. So, and that's just a few. I can tell you this: there's a banking there's an institution named Lendio, and there's a guy and his wife, Bill and Leanne Airy, and guess what? They figured out early on, we're a lending platform, and we know that the cannabis industry is hurting. Let's go start talking to some of those people. Well, guess what? They've opened up multiple loans for people just like us to do our business and keep us going or get us to the next level or whatever. So, you know, it's institutions like Lendio that are taking advantage of an opportunity that's missing from the traditional banking institution. So a lot of things going on. And as it relates to jobs and extraction, say again?
I was just going to interject really quickly to say that what you're talking about, the federal banking institutions are there's been a number of documents that have come from the public credit unions that say it's okay.
Yeah.
Hey guys, cannabis, it's okay. You can lend, you can provide banking services. And even the FDIC also put forth a policy letter that said, hey guys, it's okay. And yet across the country, state by state, that's not, lending and banking services are still not happening. So
No.
but you're right, and there's small banks that are making those inroads. So
Yeah.
I wanted to jump in there and say it's still chaos is a really great description. The left hand's not talking to the right hand.
No. And then as it relates to other industry specific businesses where there's more opportunity, I find I mentioned it earlier, but that's in extraction. And I want to tip my hat literally, and I wore this hat purposely today for this call because Zelios, Colorado, which is now known as Gemini Extractors, Zelios has been in the business for several years. But guess what? When they went to up the ante and create this beautiful facility in Erie, it took them almost 2 years with all the regulations, with the fire, the fire department or just the local or the county rules, the county establishments. They had so many walkthroughs. They've had so many permits. They've had so many things, obstacles put in place. And guess what? Just to run a smooth and efficient business that would be certified as GMP, certified as USDA organic, have all the ISO certificates. Zelios, or now Gemini Extractors, they're in it for the long haul. And guess what? They're going to continue to grow and get better. And they're a company that others in the extraction game across the country, maybe in Kentucky, maybe in other states that are opening up extraction, you look to these guys for that they're setting the standard. And so I got to tip my hat to them because they're creating jobs, they're creating opportunities, and they're setting the standards for our industry. When people say, well, what's in that? Is that really CBD? Where's that coming from? That's the type of company that when you step into their doors, you'll know where the plant came from, where it was extracted, and have all the numbers to prove the content and everything else. So there's a lot in this industry that we won't even be able to get a chance to cover today.
Angela, I want to capitalize on where you think standards need to be improved upon.
Are you referring to in our state or nationally?
You can speak to wherever you see the weak spots in standards.
Okay, so because I'm in Louisiana, my focus is mainly Louisiana, but I also do have accounts outside of Louisiana. So as you know, the rules are very different state to state. We're hoping to see our rules change slightly in the upcoming legislature would be what I would say. I would love to see us get food and beverage because I think we're missing a huge part of the market. The Nielsen ratings do something similar for the hemp industry, and they put that out this past year, and I testified at our legislature along with Michael Motti. And so what we talked about was that they project by 2025 that we will be an $8 billion industry. And of that $8 billion, $1.8 billion will be food and beverage. And so if we're missing food and beverage and we're missing topicals or we're missing gummies, our customers are missing 75% of a potential revenue stream. They're only having access to 25%, and we have to change that. And the reason we do is because if we want our farmers to be successful, they have to be able to provide for 100% of an industry, not just 25%. So that's my argument every time we go forward is if we're going to be successful, it's the entire pie, not just a piece of it. And so for that reason, you're not going to have an extractor that will come here. You're not going to have someone who will process herd. That's unheard of here. Some of the things we needed to grow, which we did farm, we couldn't even find here. They've never heard of organic in Louisiana. So that was, and I'm exaggerating a little there, but it was pretty close to that. So we need wheat straw that's organic. What's that? We need, never heard of it. So, it was really quite interesting to find those things. mushroom compost, organic mushroom compost. Okay, so we need to get the spyglass out and we go look for it. So that's basically what we were faced with. And so some of the contacts I had in other states were like, we have tons of it. If you were here, we would just give it to you. So if we're going to be successful in Louisiana, we have to get to that place where it's available as a whole. And the only way to do that is putting our retailers at 100% of an industry, so that our farmers can provide for 100% of an industry. And so I'm going to keep pushing forward with that, because I believe it's a miracle plant. If they can clean up a nuclear spill at Chernobyl with it, come on, we got to use this plant more than we're using it today. And we have to have people that actually understand it. So customers will sometimes, it's a little taboo, you know, you feel like you're a drug runner at some point, because people still think cannabis, CBD, marijuana, you know, like they're not really sure. So you can kind of see they're a little standoffish. And so it's really simple to go, so you think this is marijuana? And they're like, it's not. So that's a great conversation where you can sit down with them and explain it, so that they understand it. And then they're like, oh my God, okay, I know what this plan is. So first it's taking the stigma off of it. And that's education. That's us. That's Hunter. That's Shane. That's you, Christy. Educating people so that they know what the plan is. And then I think it's going to be a game changer when people really know what this plan is. We will no longer look at it in the same light, I believe. So
Absolutely. And there's so many ways. About 100 thoughts popped into my head. Like when we were talking about niche markets and things like that, 62% of consumers are now considered the Generation Z and millennials. They're considered the most stressed out generations, and we need to be addressing that. 6 out of 10 people who try CBD for the first time try it in the form of gummies. And if we're going to support the health, integrity, and stability of this industry, it does start with the farmers and their security. Hunter, I know you've got some input on all of this. Do you want to sort of wrap it up for us? And then what we'll do is go through, and if people want to contact you individually, we'll share your contact information. But take us home, Hunter.
Excellent. Well, so I just want to share with you guys that I still have people who ask if it's going to get their cows high. It's where we are. And every time I think that, you know, we've progressed past that, it comes right back and someone else will ask me. So education is the name of the game. And when there was a couple times where it was really hard for me to not just like shout out and say, yeah, that's it. But there's a reality in this plant that for whatever reason in the United States and perhaps globally, we can focus on 20% of it at a time. What? We've got to move past that mindset. And whether it's 20% and we're concentrating on flower, that doesn't mean that the stalks, the stems, the leaves, those seeds that we're not producing the flower for don't have value and don't have applications. And it's not just the nutraceutical applications. You know, one of the original reasons that we use this plant, and everybody's familiar with canvas and rope making, but what about industrial lubrications and paint? How many times have people thought about that as a byproduct of crushing seed that, you know, is literally falling on the ground when we're thinking about flower production? One thing that I did want to also mention, and I'm glad that you brought this up, Christy, is the Z's and this millennial group. They're the largest population that we have. They're underemployed and overeducated. This is, again, that 20% hallmark of the United States, right? And I really want to also mention that the cannabis industry, and so when I say cannabis, I am saying hemp and marijuana, but there are opportunities for that age group and also for minorities that we have not had in the United States before. I think there's a unique opportunity as well for Native nations to also create their own supply chains. I think that's what's missing when we think about the future of this plant, is starting to understand that we've got to use 80% of it. 20% of that root ball needs to go back in the ground for those nutrition to be added back in. And that's definitely Shane's area. I have friends that can grow plants. I don't. I'm not good at the plants, but the idea here is that let's start using the whole plant, and let's unlock not only, you know, the 80% of the plant, but the other 80% of American ingenuity. And we need our young people to do that. Again, your consumer dollars are going to keep this industry going and make it what you want. And your applications and questions and refusal to accept the status quo is what's going to make us better. And again, I'm going to leave you guys with this. We love this plant. I get to be surrounded by people that I have respect for, that are some of the smartest people that I've had the pleasure of working with throughout my career. And we're deeply unsatisfied. And I love it, because at a certain point, if you're not unsatisfied, you're not going to be driven to make any changes. And that's what's on the table. We can do this, and we can, like I said, be able to have an income, be able to be sustainable, do something that you're passionate and you love, and that together is going to have that kind of impact on the world and each other that we deserve for ourselves, for our children, and for this planet. Let's do it.
Oh, amen.
Yep.
Let's do it. Hunter, you know, people probably want to get a hold of you. What's the best way for them to contact you if they've got more questions?
Yeah, so I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to give you 2 different email addresses, because if you're interested in how to utilize hemp as an animal feed and you want to know why it's not actually approved yet, or why it won't get your cows high, then email me at hunter@hempfeedcoalition.org. That's also the website of I Will Talk Hemp Fed Animals All Day Long. If you want to talk to me about opportunities for minorities, what's really happening in the policy world, I work very specifically in Colorado and nationally. You can reach me at hunter@everybodyloves, LOVES, sauce.com. And that's my consulting business where I can sit down and have conversations about policy all day long. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Shane. How do people get a hold of you? Through me, of course. No.
It's very simple. Go to Christy. Shane at seed2system.com is my email address. And I have my phone on me constantly, so I'm always answering questions. And if I can't answer something, I send it to Christy. But we get a lot of questions. We get a lot of, since we're a product company, we get a lot of questions about health, a lot of questions about specific ailments. I mean, you would be surprised, but we're constantly getting these questions. And so it's great to be able to have an education director with Christy to be able to help people out. So please reach me though anytime, Shane@seed2system.com. Even if you're another business similar to ours and you have questions about it, if it's something regarding banking, regarding credit card companies, regarding financing, or just regarding referrals to other businesses that we're doing business with in a certain category. One thing we didn't touch on today was just the fact that there's a lot of manufacturers that are out there that they're maybe in the nutraceutical space, and so now CBD has come into their world, and so there's a lot of questions that they may have. But yeah, there's tons of jobs and tons of opportunity out there. And it's really great to see this industry starting to take off. I will say that it's amazing how quickly people jumped in with a lot of money, and a lot of those companies are gone because the industry either wasn't set up properly yet, or maybe there was just too much spending going on, thinking that they were just going to get rich quick overnight. Just talking from personal experience, it's been a long road, and we're slowly but surely, branching out and getting into other states and working hard to spread education and spread our product and help people out. But this is a fun industry. It takes a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of dynamics behind it. But yeah, I'm always available, and I love answering emails and answering questions and helping people. So thank you, Christy, for having me on.
Oh, thank you. And Angela, I'm hoping a lot of people have questions for you also around retail, private label, white label, how to go a little bit deeper with more confidence into the retail space, etc. What is the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Well, actually, they email Shane or Christy. Just tell them you need to talk to me. But Angela at C2 Systems, you can reach me. You can, through this link on the Facebook page, just say, hey, I need to talk with you. I'll reach out. I'll also put my cell phone number in the comment section in just a little bit. And so anyone who wants to reach out, please do so, because I love sitting down with customers and helping them find a good fit for them. So I'll put that on there.
I love that.
Yeah.
Everyone, thank you for listening. Whether you are in this industry or not, we cannot move forward in a silo. So collaboration is the name of this game. We're not in this to be competitive. We're in this for the big haul, which means we all have to move forward together, from genetics, farming, insurance, safety, stability, product development, how to reuse and reinvent products with waste material. So if there's something you are passionate about and you're already doing, think about how you can get involved with the hemp industry and bring a new product to life. Breathe in some new innovation, create jobs, etc. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week with Dr. Carrillo, more on education around medical health and prevention. Thank you all for being here. This has been so good. I love job opportunities, growth, and expansion, and we are in the right place, and all of you are raising the tide. So thank you again, all my heart.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go out and hemp your health. We will see you soon.
Bye.